What is up, everybody? Coach Chad here, CEO of the Next Level Coaching Academy, and welcome into another episode of the Fit CEO podcast. We're going to dive right in. We're going to waste no time. And today we're going to be talking about marketing. All right. And when it comes to marketing, there are two different types of approaches in marketing. If we're talking big picture, obviously there's many micro strategies when it comes to marketing. But when we're talking big picture, macro, bird's eye view, there was really just two different approaches. All right. You have a branding approach to marketing, and then you have a direct response approach to marketing. All right. In the coaching space specifically, direct response is used a ton. All right. It's used for business coaches. It's used for mindset coaches. It's used for online fitness coaches. It doesn't matter what kind of coach you are, direct response has been the primary use of marketing. There hasn't been a whole ton of individuals really adopting a branding approach. So my goal with this podcast is to show you the power of branding and some small tips and tricks that you could do to work branding into your direct marketing approach. All right, because direct response, it's not bad. You definitely need a direct response approach. However, you also need to add a branding approach as well. It should be a symbiotic relationship of posting branding content with your direct response content. So let's define both and what they mean at a very, layman's terms level. And then let's dive in more specifically into the branding side, what it is and how you can use it in your business as well. All right. So branding, if I'm just going to put this in layman's terms, the branding approach is about values. All right. It's why do we exist and what do we stand for? That's what branding is. All right. It's communicating what's your mission and what are your core values. Very simple. That's branding. All right. We're going to dive much deeper into it here in a minute, but I just want to keep it simple for understanding's sake. All right, direct response. What is direct response? Direct response is, do you have this problem? I have this solution. All right. Do you struggle with getting leads? Download my lead generation mini course. All right. Do you not know what your calories and macros are? Try my calorie and macro calculator. All right. That's direct response. It's, hey, do you have this problem? Here's my solution. All right. And that's predominantly what coaches do. They do the direct response, which inherently it's not bad. It works. You need direct response because direct response is going to get you leads in the short term, which guess what? We need leads in the short term, right? If we're going to have a cash flow business. However, branding, and the reason why branding is so important, why you should be thinking about this more in your marketing strategy, is this is how we create a long-lasting business. All right, the branding approach is much slower and the timeline is much longer. However, the results are much greater. When we think about the biggest businesses in the world, they aren't really doing direct response, right? Think of Coca-Cola. Has Coca-Cola ever said to you directly, like, hey, go buy my thing? No, they just brand. Hey, this is our mission. This is what we stand for. We stand to create the best, beverage, whatever the refreshment beverage in the world. And here are our company core values, right? We believe in XYZ. You never see them say like, hey, go buy this thing. Or do you have this problem? Go buy this thing, because that's not their approach. They've been doing branding for the past however many years, and that's how they became number one, right? Same thing with Amazon, same thing with Starbucks, right? All these big companies are brands and their marketing approach is branding. It's not direct response. But once again, it's a symbiotic relationship. You need the direct response because that keeps the lead flow in the short term, right? But you also need to be focused your approach on the long term as well. And we need that branding approach. All right. So let's dive in a little bit more specifically. Once again, branding is about mission. It's about values. Direct response is about problem solution. All right. So if you are watching this on YouTube, you are about to get a little bit of a presentation. If you're on the podcast, you're still gonna get all the information. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and dive in. So like I said, branding is about mission and it's about values. All right, so we're going to start with mission and more specifically your mission statement. All right, so the question that you need to answer with your mission statement is, why do we exist? All right, so that's the simple question that we need to answer. Why do we exist? What gets us up in the morning? All right, and the reason it's so important to define your mission statement is, one, from a marketing standpoint, it tells the world what your mission is. Why are we here? This is what we're trying to accomplish, right? But internally, it solves a lot of problems as well. And when I say internally, I'm talking about within your company. All right, so externally to customers, it tells them why you're here, but internally, the problem that it solves is this becomes your decision-making calculus. Anytime that you're making big decisions within your company, adding a new product line, right? Maybe making a shift in your ideal client, right? When you start making these really high-level big decisions in your company, you want to use your mission statement as a North Star, right? If we do X, does it fall within our mission statement? Does it help us accomplish the thing that we're trying to accomplish at a higher level? And if the answer is no, then you have your answer, right? If the answer is yes, then you have your answer as well. All right, so that's the power of a mission statement. Externally, marketing tells people why you're here and the problem that you're solving. Internally, it's within the company, it's a decision-making calculus. All right, so how do we actually create our company mission statement? All right, so we have three different ways. There's obviously many more ways that you could write a company mission statement, but these are just three examples on how you can write your company mission statement. All right, so the very first one is, we exist to help person achieve outcome so they can secondary outcome. All right, let's give you an example. We exist to transform bodies and beings by fusing science and soul for lifelong transformation. All right, so for this individual, their mission statement here, the person is bodies and beings, right? So this individual in this coaching company doesn't help a specific type of person. They help all people, right? So they were very general in that person category, bodies and beings. The outcome is they do that by fusing science and soul, right? So science and soul is the approach, it's the outcome, it's fusing the two together, right? Taking a scientific approach, but also taking a more liberal approach, right? A soul approach for the secondary outcome. In this case, the secondary outcome is lifelong transformation. All right, so I'm going to read that one more time. We exist to help person achieve outcome so they can secondary outcome. All right, example, we exist to transform bodies and beings by fusing science and soul for lifelong transformation. All right, so that's one example. All right, the second example of a company mission statement we have here is, we exist to help person achieve outcome by method. All right, so we exist to help this type of person achieve this outcome through this method. All right, let me give you an example. We exist to help entrepreneurs reach their full potential by starting and scaling online coaching businesses. All right, that's NLCA's mission statement. All right, it's very simple. It's very matter of fact. We help entrepreneurs reach their full potential. That's the outcome. Entrepreneurs is the person. Full potential is the outcome by starting and scaling online coaching businesses. That's the method. All right. So that's another example. We exist to help person achieve outcome by method. All right, the last one is, we exist to method and outcome. We exist to method and outcome. Let me give you an example. We exist to document and share the best practices of building a world-class company. All right, that's Alex Hermosi's or acquisition.com's company mission statement. All right, their method. So we exist to document, this is the method, document and share best practices of, and this is the outcome of building world-class companies. All right, so they're not targeting any specific person. They just want to document the best practices to help people create world-class companies. All right, so we exist to method and outcome. All right. So that's defining your company mission statement. All right, let's go a little bit deeper here. All right, so here are some of the prompt questions that you need to be thinking about when you are creating your company mission statement. Why did you start this business? All right, what was the reason you started this business? Usually it's you experienced something, you solved that problem, and you want to help other people solve that problem as well. right? So get connected with that. What was the reason you started this business? What was the pain that you experienced, right? What was the method that you used to solve that problem? And what was the outcome of you solving that problem? All right, next question here. What in your life truly motivated you to want to start this business? Who do you serve is another question you need to ask yourself. Who do you serve? Was it the previous version of yourself, right? For me, I didn't know how to grow an online fitness coaching business. Somebody taught me how to do it. Now, and then my life changed forever. Then I'm like, holy shit, I want to help other people do that. Right. So that helped me. Basically, who do I serve was just the previous version of who I was. That doesn't mean that has to be for you, but in a lot of cases, you're trying to help your previous self and you're trying to help that person more efficiently and quicker than you were helped yourself, or the way or how you figured out that problem for yourself. All right, the next prompt question here is, what do you help them with? Right. So now you know who you serve, but what specifically do you help them with? Right. For me, it's starting and scaling online fitness coaching businesses. And these questions, right, they're very amorphous. They're very general. You don't need a very complex answer, right? You guys saw my company mission statement. It's very simple. We exist to help entrepreneurs reach their full potential by starting and scaling online coaching businesses, right? I think that when people try to create their company mission statement, they try to make it like this paragraph long thing, and they try to make it really complex and wordy. Simple is better. If you have a 1-sentence mission statement and it's very simple and direct, you're doing great. All right, here are some other prompt questions. What is your person's main why, right? The people you're trying to help, what's their main why? What's the main outcome that they're trying to achieve? Go deeper. Why is their why, right? So if your answer to that previous question was their why is to lose weight, why do they want to lose weight, right? Is it to be a better parent? Is it to be a better spouse? Is it to feel better about themselves, to have more self-confidence, right? Why do they want to lose weight? And then lastly, what is the method in which you use to get them there? All right, so those are the prompt questions to create your company mission statement. Okay, now we're going to dive into company tenets or core values, right? Interchangeable words. In NLCA, we refer to them as company tenets. A lot of other people refer to them as company core values. All right, so now you know, moving forward, I'm just going to say tenets. All right, so what are tenets? Tenets answer the question, how do we behave and how do we operate? All right, so we just defined the mission statement, why we exist. Now we need to define, how do we behave while we're trying to achieve this outcome, this mission statement? How do we operate day to day? Now, this is going to be internally, so your internal company culture within your employees. However, we're going to talk about here in a minute, once I help you define your tenets, we're going to talk about here in a minute why you need to integrate this beyond just your internal employees, and why you need to integrate this into your marketing approach, and why you need to integrate this into your customer experience as well. We'll get there in a minute, but let's define your company tenets first. Okay. So how do you use company tenets? All right. So company tenets, at least how we use them internally in NLCAs, we use them in 6 different ways. I'm not going to spend a whole ton of time on this just because it's not super relevant to what we're talking about, but you guys can view this as like an additional bonus to the video and to the podcast. All right. So the 6 different ways that we use our company tenets is we hire through them with situational and anecdotal questions. So what that means is we'll provide situations in our interviews, or we'll ask people to recall a time in their life where they had to use said tenet. And this would be our company tenet, right? So we would define the company tenets to them, and then we'd either ask them a situational based question or an anecdotal based question to see how aligned this interviewee is with our company culture. All right, the second way that we use company tenets is we fire through them for repeated violations. All right, so if somebody has a huge violation of the company tenet, boom, they're gone right away. But if they have many little violations of the company tenets, same thing, they're gone, right? And the reason that's so important is if you have just one cancer in your company, it can ruin a culture from within. All right, number 3, we reinforce behavior by making it a requirement for raise. All right, so anytime that we're looking into if we want to give an individual a raise or not, we look into how well they embody the company tenets. All right, we also reinforce behavior with public praise on meetings and chats for people who are embodying the company tenets. We make decisions through the company tenets, right? So if we do X, is it aligned with our company tenets? And we also give feedback to people if they are not embodying the company tenets, right? So our feedback goes beyond just strategic. It's also on company core values as well. All right, so that's not super relevant to what we're talking about here in terms of marketing, but definitely helpful. All right, let's talk about creating your company tenets now. Okay, so really we have 4 simple steps here. All right, step number 1 is choose the values that you, the founder, believe should be how your company behaves. All right, so you need to sit down, you need to think, what are these specific character traits that this company needs to enact, needs to fall in line with if we're going to achieve our mission, right? There are some companies that they need to move with speed, right? So maybe one of their company tenets is relevant to that. There are some companies where, you know, things do need to move a little bit slower. It's more of a thinking company. There's a lot of thought that has to go into stuff, and maybe that's a company tenet, right? So you need to just analyze, if we're going to accomplish this mission, what are the behaviors that we need to have in order to do that? All right, so that's step number 1. Step number 2, define those values. What do they mean to you? All right, so you're going to first choose the values that you believe in and that you think need to be enacted in order to achieve the mission. And then you're going to define those values. What do they mean to you, right? So as an example, let's say in step 1, you decided that hard work needs to be one of your values. Now go further, define what hard work looks like for you, right? So this is where you would actually sit down and write a few sentences on what that value means to you, because there's going to be different definitions based on your perception and life experience. All right, step number 3, you're going to take your definition of your values and you're going to create a usable phrase or saying. All right, this will be how your company communicates the value internally. So let's stick with that hard work example. All right, so hard work, right, isn't like super memorable, right? It's something that everybody uses. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to create a usable phrase or saying that would define hard work within your company. And the reason you want to do this is because it makes it a lot easier for it to be daily communication within the company. So for example, we have a company tenet that is called act first. All right, what act first means is to be bold and to take action. In so many words, it means hard work, but we don't say hard work as we're communicating the tenet within the company. We say act first. All right, so it's a little phrase that makes this memorable, which also makes it easier to use when you're communicating with the company. All right, so you have to sit down, you have to think, all right, if it's going to be hard work, what's a little phrase, what's a little saying that we could say that will become very easy for us to communicate within the company? All right, I'm going to give you some examples here. All right, so these are some tenets that I helped a company create. One of their tenets was use your heart. All right, so the definition of use your heart for this individual was use your heart is defined as using your emotional intelligence when interacting with people-based decisions. So they didn't just say emotional intelligence. Obviously, that was the value that was important for this CEO, but they made the phrase use your heart, right? It's a little bit more memorable. It's a little bit more usable. A second example would be use your head. All right, so the definition of use your head is balancing logic-based thinking to derive strategic and systematic decision making. All right, so it was really important for this CEO, for their staff members to think logically to come up with strategic decisions. So we defined that as use your head. So we have use your heart, we have use your head, and then the last one is use your fire. All right, so this definition is use your fire is defined by taking initiative, being relentless, and always embracing radical accountability and ownership. All right, and we defined this individual's 3 tenets as use your heart, use your head, and use your fire. All right, within NLCA, we have truth first, mission first, and act first, right? So you could see that how all the sayings kind of build off of each other, which once again makes it a little bit more memorable when you're using these inside of your company. All right, let's get back to the marketing talk here and the customer experience talk. All right. So we started by saying that you need to incorporate branding into your marketing approach. A lot of coaches are using direct response. All right. Then we defined branding as mission and values. All right. Then we helped you guys create your mission and values. All right. The last thing that I want to do is I want to give you guys 3 ways that you guys can tangibly use this inside of your marketing and inside of your customer experience. All right. So number 1, in your content, there's 2 ways that you want to use this. 1, you want to make it known. And then 2, you want to lead by example. All right. So what make it known means is it's very simple. It means communicate what you stand for, right? Tell people what your mission statement is. Tell people what your company core values are. All right, that's make it known. How are people going to know what your mission statement is and what you stand for if you don't actually say it? All right, so in your marketing, some of your content should just be about what is your mission statement? What are your company values? How did you come up with your mission statement? How did you come up with your company values? Right? Maybe there's stories that are tied to each company value that you could share. All right. Lead by example is the second way within your content that you want to do this, right? So once you make it known that you stand for these things, you then need to show up within that way in your content, right? So if one of your company core values, let's say is, let's see, be consistent, right? Let's say be consistent is one of your company core values. Well, then in your content, you need to show up consistently. You need to be posting in a consistent manner that aligns with what you stand for. Because if you're going to make it public, if you're going to make it known, and then people see that you aren't leading by example, they're going to think that you're a phony. They're going to think that you're a fake. All right. So when it comes to content, real simple, 2 things. Make it known. What's the mission? What's the values? And then 2, lead by example. Okay, the second thing that I have here, and this is more for the customer experience. All right, so we talked, the first one was about marketing. This one is how you can use branding in your customer experience, is make it visible and make it tangible. So if you are watching on YouTube, you're going to see that I'm holding up a metal plate that I got from First Form. So I buy my supplements from First Form, and they sent me this metal plate. It's maybe, I'm going to describe it for the podcast listeners. It's maybe 5 inches by 2 inches. All right. And on the metal plate, it has the First Form logo on it. And then it says core values. And then it has a list of their core company values on here. All right. So coming back to my point, make it visible and make it tangible. In the customer experience, you're going to want to make it visible and make it tangible. You're going to want to show your customers what you stand for. And the tangible piece is really important as well. I get to hold this, right? And there's a different experience to holding this than just to see it, right? For example, maybe just seeing it on First Form's website. But when they send me this, when I buy supplements and it's in my hand and I get to see it, it's a much different experience. Also, what's so important about this is now I'm going to ask myself, right, when I read their core values, I buy supplements, they send me this, I read their core values, which are loyalty, going the extra mile, staying humble, being disciplined. There's a long list. I won't get into all of it, but as I'm reading this, I'm asking myself, do I stand for these things? And then I say, yeah, actually, I do stand for these things. And now they've just created a loyal customer because they made what they stand for visible. They also made it tangible, which then makes me ask my question, makes me question myself, do I believe in these? And when I say yes, now my identity is wrapped up with their identity and I become a loyal customer, right? So that's why it's so important to incorporate this stuff into your client journey, into your customer experience. Because once a customer can say, hey, what I believe in is the same thing that they believe in, they become much more loyal to your brand. Okay. The third and final thing that I wanted to talk about here is reinforce positive behavior. So this is also going to be in your customer experience, but there's 2 ways that you can reinforce positive behavior when it comes to your core values and branding with your customer experience. All right. So you just made it known and you just made it visible to your clients what you stand for. Now you want to reinforce their behavior when they act within this way, right? So I'll use First Form as an example here. right? So one of their core values is be disciplined, right? So if I was coaching a client and I noticed that they were being disciplined, in the coaching interaction, I would positively reinforce that behavior. I would say, hey, that's awesome. I see that you're being really disciplined. I know that's one of our company core values. And I just wanted to shout you out. I just wanted to say you're doing an amazing job, right? Because that positive reinforcement, now they're going to want to repeat that behavior, because now they know anytime they do this behavior, what's going to happen? They're going to get rewarded for it. All right. So you can reinforce positive behavior tied to the company core values in your client experience in the coaching aspect. All right. The second way that you can tie this in to your client and customer experience is with awards. So maybe, once a quarter, you have client awards, and those awards are named after your company core values, and those go to the clients that are falling within that company core value to the highest degree. Same thing, positive reinforcement gets them more attached to the brand, gets them to want to act within the brand as well. Now, tying this back to marketing, because you're probably like, we're talking about customer experience, but I thought this is about marketing. But tying this back to marketing, now you have all your clients who believe in the core values, who are being positively reinforced to act within the core values. Therefore, they are acting within the core values. And what do you think they're going to do? They're now going to spread positive word of mouth to everybody in their ecosystem about how amazing your company is, because they believe in your mission and they believe in what you stand for. So now your marketing goes beyond, now your branding from a marketing perspective goes beyond just your own capacity, and it goes within the army that you have created within your client base. And that's where I'm going to drop the mic. So biggest takeaways here is, yes, you should absolutely continue to have a direct response approach, but you got to include branding into your marketing as well. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.